So I want to make a foot for my ganache. So I'm taking just a wet cloth, wetting my surface. Use a squeegee or whatever you happen to have. And this just keeps the piece of guitar sheet down flat. So I have about 200 grams of dark chocolate here that's at about 33.5 degrees Celsius. I'm going to take my EZtemper silk. You can see the texture of that. And 200 grams, I want to add maybe 2 grams to bring that into temper. So there we go, that's 2 grams. I'm going to put my silk back into the EZtemper unit and just close the lid. Going to take my chocolate and stir in my EZtemper silk. And as you can see very quickly, it develops that sort of greasy sheen on the surface, which indicates that it's in good temper. Let me check the temperature. It started out at 33.5 degrees. It dropped about a degree after I added the EZtemper silk. So in order to make our foot for our ganache, we're going to take our tempered dark chocolate, spread it on our piece of acetate, and just use our piece of PVC piping to form a thin layer over top of the acetate. While it's still damp, we are going to place our frame on it, and we're going to let it sit for a minute or two to crystallize. So we're going to make a white chocolate ganache and add our EZtemper silk in order to speed up the time at which we'll be able to cut. So I have my white chocolate at around 30 degrees. I have my liquids at around 40 degrees. I'm going to stir together until I get a nice emulsion. Now this recipe would normally sit for overnight at least before you could cut it with the guitar. We're going to add about 10% of our EZtemper silk, and it will allow us to cut it within a couple of hours. So if you have a look here, you can see the texture of our silk, and this recipe is about 350 grams, so I'm adding about 3 to 4 grams of the EZtemper silk. Again, remember the lid swings, and I lock it down when I'm done. You'll notice how easily that emulsifies. Now this was at about 33 degrees when I stirred this in. Now we have our prepared foot. So we're actually less than 2 hours from the initial production of this ganache, and I think it is actually fully crystallized and ready to go. So I am going to just release it from its frame. Go. I can clean off a little of this so it doesn't end up on the floor. Then again, it most likely will. What we want to do is, with this on our guitar sheet, we're actually going to give it a roll into both corners with our PVC pipe. That just flattens out any areas where it's lifted on the sides. I'm going to take it to the edge of the table and just give it a little pull over on a couple of sides, just to loosen it up. And later we clean up the floor. And we're going to put that over onto our guitar. Now, with our guitar, we're going to make our first cut. I'm going to take the excess off the edge. Now, to get something off a guitar, you actually lift the corner so that you make sure you don't cut into your ganache. We want to wipe off our guitar strings. Now at this point we could actually change to a different one, a different blade for cutting in the other direction. And we're going to slide our ganache back onto the guitar. It doesn't actually need to be snugly up against that edge. We're going to give it our second cut. Again, we take off these pieces from the edge. Now if you line it up just so, you're going to waste a little less. Again, you're going to pick up the corner so that you can get your lifter under there without too much difficulty. We need to separate our pieces. Now you can see, for a ganache, a white chocolate, no less, ganache, that is about 2 hours from being made, we have got a beautiful piece that's going to dip very nicely. So here we are, less than 2.5 hours since we made this ganache. We have about 300 grams of chocolate that has been cooled to about 33.5 degrees. I have my EZtemper silk. You can see how wonderfully silky this batch is. I'm going to add about 3 grams. And, oh, 2. Let's go for 3. There we go, 3 grams. Alright, I'm going to stick my silk back in the unit. I'm going to close it. I'm going to move my scale out of the way. And I'm going to stir in my silk. And very quickly I start to notice that appearance, that hazy sort of oil slick appearance, some call it purple, under fluorescent light, that you see when you have the right number of Form 5 crystals in your chocolate. Now, we were 33.5 when we started. We've dropped about a half a degree this time around. If we give it another 30 seconds or so, we'll probably be down a full degree from where we started. So I am going to dip these pieces of ganache that we cut on the guitar. When I'm dipping, I actually like to have something kind of non-skid to hold my bowl. I like to have my Chris Hennis patented dipping tool. I'm going to put my pre-crystallized chocolate into a slightly smaller bowl. I find it easier to work with if I've got a deeper pool of chocolate. Okay. Now, a dipping fork. Kingdom. Here we go. Alright. So, that little bit's going to have to get at. So as I say, we're about 2.5 hours after I made these pieces, and they are very easy to pull apart, very easy to work with. Just coax that one off with a fork. This is actually a lovely tasting ganache. I think I mentioned before, it has wild Madagascar pepper, as well as some black pepper oil, and some calvados.